Welcome to Think Big with Michael Zellner podcast, sponsored by Sleepy Z's Masonry. My guest today for episode 168 is Joel Baines. Joel is the president and CEO of Memphis Capital Group, headquarters here in Memphis, Tennessee. He started the company in 2006 under the names Baines Capital Management and Baines Capital Group. And in January 2023, the company's rebranded under Memphis Capital. And the high income fund they have has grown over to $250 million in investments. Wow. Thanks for joining me today, Joel.
Thank you, Michael. Glad to be here.
My pleasure. So, this all started for you back in June 1984 at Duncan Williams, where you were there for, I believe, 17 years. What things did you learn during that time at Duncan Williams that's helped you to get you where you are today?
Well, Duncan Williams was a fascinating place to work at. And what I would tell you is we had many products. When I graduated in finance from the University of Tennessee. And when you got in there, you kind of had to find your way because there were a number of opportunities of how to grow a business. And actually, you're just trying to make an income. You're not thinking about growing a business. But after about 2 years there, I found a niche in government guaranteed loans. And my business could have gone 10 different ways, but that was just the niche I found. And I would literally tell you that these loans had two characteristics. They were both government guaranteed and they were adjustable rate. So those make them an extremely safe investment. And so the easiest way I started out was buying the loans from banks in California. They were originating a ton of them. So that's kind of how I found my way. And then I just worked my way up through the organization.
That must have been incredible. I know, I guess, is there a Duncan Jr.? Is there a Duncan Sr.?
I worked for Duncan Sr. and Duncan Jr.
Yeah, I met Junior a few years ago when I was working out with a personal trainer. He worked out there also and seemed to be a really nice guy.
Absolutely.
That must
have a great relationship with him today as well.
That's awesome. What inspired you to rebrand as Memphis Capital, and how has the new identity reflect the company's values and roots in Memphis?
Well, it's a very interesting time in Memphis. We were actually growing, and we hired a marketing firm to come up with a new name for us. And the reason we changed our name is because we have multiple businesses, and each of them had a different name. It was Baines Capital Group, Baines Capital Management. We had another one, Stonewall, doing business as Hanover Securities. So we wanted to get the synergies of the different businesses. And so that's what motivated us to get a name change. At the same time, Memphis was going through a change where the companies here, a number of financial firms have been bought out and their owners are in different cities. So years ago, Morgan Keegan got bought by Raymond James.
Right.
So now the ownership is down in Tampa. Vining Sparks got bought by Stifel. Their ownership is in St. Louis. Duncan Williams got bought out. And so now what you have is a business that flourished in Memphis, and now all the owners of the businesses are in other cities. So literally, after the marketing company came up with 100 different names for us, we're sitting at the table, and one of our guys said, "What about Memphis Capital?" And we all looked at each other and said, "There's no, that name has to be taken."
Right.
But it wasn't. And it just seemed to fit the times perfectly.
And, some people do not understand, if they're not in business, and this isn't trying to sound arrogant, how important names and branding are.
They are. And we really wanted it to reflect who we are and what we do. And we just couldn't have picked a better name.
Right. And it is, absolutely great name. Can you share with us a little bit more about the journey of Baines Capital Management and Baines Capital Group from its inception in 2006 to the change, 2023, where we are today?
Absolutely. Well, I would tell you that, first of all, when I tell you I started at Duncan Williams, I literally started buying loans, and then I realized if I sold loans, I could make more money. And then I started looking at the trader, and I figured I could do that as well. So I grew up in the company, and I learned every facet of the business. And I apologize, I'm getting over a little cough.
That's okay.
But what happened was a firm in Denver, Colorado called us and said, "We know who you are and what you do." And I went out and talked to them. And our assets fit incredibly well on a bank's balance sheet. And so that's why they wanted us. And they offered us the opportunity to grow our business. And so it was exactly, give me 1 second.
You're fine. Take your time.
It was opportunity to grow our business.
If you need to get something to drink, do it, because I have a person that edits this, so we'll edit that out.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, get yourself something to drink. Yeah, you're fine.
So going to opening what we opened an office called First Matrix Investment Services, and it was for Matrix Bancorp. And they gave us the opportunity to grow our business. We did it. And after 3 years, we were number one in the country.
Wow. And
so we saw the success. We saw what we could do. But these guys weren't going to let us benefit from the business we built. And it became abundantly clear. And at that point, I realized I'm in the business now 20 years, 21 years. And I had all the components to go off and do this on my own.
Right.
And so that was the motivation. And so I went out, I raised capital. We had a few opportunities once we were ready to go. And we chose a family office out of Dallas, Texas. They were fantastic people. And so we've been with them June 1st, it's 18 years. And so they've stuck with us. We've been through some challenging markets, the credit crisis, a few others, but we've done extremely well. And it's been a very, it's been an adventure. And it's an exciting time in our market right now.
What is the primary mission or goal that drives, Memphis Capital's investment decisions?
Well, the primary mission, what I would tell you, is capital preservation. We're a very conservative strategy, and our objective is to earn money in any interest rate cycle, whether rates go up or down. And this one is a really unique one because if you look at banks across the country, they invested in securities 2 or 3 years ago during COVID. And all of those securities they bought back then, they're underwater.
Right.
And so they are letting those assets roll off of their balance sheet. But if you look at our adjustable rate government guaranteed loans, they're flourishing. They are paying an attractive interest rate and a very good return.
Awesome. What motivates you every day?
I like to compete. I really do. I love to compete. And I can't, God knows I played basketball too long, but I like to compete in every facet, and I want to grow our business. And also, when you sit there and you look at all the ownership of the businesses leaving Memphis, I love Memphis. I am a Memphis native, a Memphis fan. And I love our name. And I want people to know that the home of middle markets fixed income, institutional middle markets, it's here in Memphis.
Right.
It's not in St. Louis. It's not in Tampa. It's here.
Yeah. And, we obviously, when people outside of Memphis maybe think of Memphis, the one thing that sticks out, obviously, unfortunately, is crime.
Right.
Crime is bad here. There's no doubt about it. But crime is bad in many, many, many major cities across the country. And anytime you watch your own local news in any city, that's what you usually hear about for the first 15 to 20 minutes of local news as you hear about crime. But I'm like you. I was born and raised here, huge Memphis fan. And I will always say there's way more good here than bad. I mean, and companies like Federal Express would not be here, based here, AutoZone, St. Jude Children's Resource Hospital, and Bonner would have left years ago if they couldn't flourish. And all those companies are growing.
Right. And look, that's what the news sells. They sell fear.
Yes, they do.
But you know what? When I think of Memphis, I don't walk around feel fearful ever. I mean, there are places you just don't go and you don't go. But I don't think it's what we're portrayed as. I think Memphis is a great place. It's a safe place.
How does Memphis Capital differentiate itself from other, financial advisory firms, especially in terms of advising institutional investors and managing portfolios?
Well, what I would tell you is we don't do everything. We don't do equities. We're really good at what we do. And I would tell you that in managing these assets, we do a great job for our clients. We don't think about, how do I say it? We're planning for tomorrow. We're not living on the past. And we just try to have as much foresight and share it with our clients as best we can.
And thinking about, you opening back in 2006, you opened right at the time, now that I'm remembering, because, I had my first furniture store, I had to close in 2008 because our sales in 2006 to 2007, they were cut in half.
Right.
When the housing, financial crisis hit. How did you manage that opening up then at the very, very beginning, the first few years? There had obviously that, couldn't have been easy.
That was a critical time, and you're exactly correct. My friends told me that when I was in the business for a few years, money would find me. It was going to be downhill. So after 2 years, we did extremely well. And then came the credit crisis. And when the credit crisis came, you would think that money would gravitate towards us because of our safety.
Sure.
But during that time frame, the government said, or the Fed said, rates aren't going up for the foreseeable future. And they put a government guarantee on all other assets. So it took away the motivation for investors to buy our assets. So it was a nightmare for me in December of 2008. And what I would tell you is it tested our product, my stamina, our team, and we did really well. 2009 was a recovery year, and after that, we were off to the races.
Awesome. How does the company measure success in its investments, and what factors contribute to Memphis Capital's track record of success in the market?
Well, there's a few ways that jump out at me. The first one is when you're looking at the prepayment speed of your investments. We pay a premium for our loans. And if a loan prepays or defaults, we lose that premium. So you want the slowest prepayment speed of any of the pool assemblers. And for 18 years, we have the slowest prepayment speed of any pool assembler in the business. Then there's another, you measure your performance by what's called a standard deviation or volatility index. And ours is extremely low. So we feel that we minimize risk and maximize the reward.
Awesome. How does the company prioritize customer satisfaction, maintain strong partnerships, a month, after the rebranding process? How did that go when you were rebranded? How did your customers and clients feel?
Really good. And it's one of the communication is the most important thing, because you all go through challenges in life, and the most important thing is to communicate with your clients. And we've always done that.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I agree. Communication, staying on top of everything. I have a calendar that I have online. I'm old school. I have my calendar book that I still write everything in. And I have my little whiteboard where I write everything going on, with, jobs with masonry and everything like that. And I have files on everybody, because I was like, what happens if a computer goes out for a whole week and something? I want to make sure that I have a backup plan. But just like you, yeah, that communication with customers always, always, always is the most important thing.
Right.
What core values guide the operations and interactions within the company?
Well, first, honesty and work hours and to help the other people in the office. You can't do this on your own. You've got to be a teammate. You've got to be straightforward, good, bad news, deliver the news, and lift other people up. Because not everybody, how do I say it? Everybody has bad days, and
sure.
The point is we're all in this together.
And that's so important. People having a good atmosphere of a place to work is, and having the positivity. Obviously, there's going to be, you can't completely, avoid negativity and things like that. But being able to motivate your people, and so they know that you have confidence in them, I'm sure that is very helpful in what you do.
Absolutely. And give people the opportunity. And, people, I think one other thing is we like to let people work their way up in the company. If something opens up, people sometimes look outside their organization. We look inside of it for the best people to let them rise to the occasion.
That's awesome. In what ways does Memphis Capital further strengthen its client-focused approach, while at the same time upholding performance-driven results?
We listen to our clients, and sometimes their needs are different, and we try to adjust to those needs. It's made us innovative, because our clients, some want more risk, some want less risk. Right. And we've adapted to help them meet their goals.
When you have people that come to you that don't know much about investment, and they're like, hey, I have so-and-so amount of money I want to invest, is there a particular area that you start with them first?
Well, most of the people that come to us, we really deal with, how do I say it? We help people along wherever they are, but typically the people that we deal with are high net worth investors. They're more sophisticated, right? But we help anybody. Oh, okay. It's just, that we may direct them to another place.
Sure. That makes sense. And that's good. I mean, there's probably companies that wouldn't do that. They say, we can't help you, and, and just leave it alone. But, to be able to, recommend somebody that that would be able to help them, it shows a lot about you guys.
Thank you.
How does the company approach risk management in investment activities?
Well, as I've told you, that when you look at our core products, you could think of, we're already in the least risky investments that are out there. So we're already there, and it's kind of like I share with you that we look at the volatility index. and we compare our returns to other type funds. And so what I would tell you is we look at our past performance, and we also are considering where we're going and what the changes in the marketplace mean for the future. Because somebody who comes on today, they don't get your performance from the past. They're
Right.
counting on you for the future.
Right.
So, and that's what we prepare for.
Awesome. What is the biggest challenge and obstacle that you've overcome in your life, just in general, and how were you able to get through it?
I would tell you that the credit crisis, when there was no credit available, and how do I say it? My loan got called in December of 08. And, I had an advisor that told me, he said, get up every day, come to work and answer that phone, because the banker called every day going, can you pay down your loan? And there was no liquidity during that time frame. So it was not what I expected 2 years into the business. But every day I got up, I went to work, and I worked myself out of that situation. And that gave me the confidence to meet future challenges. So I think that was an invaluable experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, failure, and I wouldn't say that was quote failure, but because you had no control over what happened, but having those kind of things make us so much stronger, and, for everything that we do in life.
They absolutely.
And, what did the bank say when you told them, I don't have the money to pay you? Obviously they're calling your loan in, and, they could come after you, but, you don't have anything. So, I mean, isn't the best thing for them to do is, I guess what they did was they continue to work with you until you work yourself out of it.
Exactly. Well, they can't manage those assets like I can. And they made a good decision to let me work my way out of it. And what they did was they charged a higher interest rate, which gave me the motivation to get out.
Yeah.
And that's what I did in 2009.
Awesome. Tell us a little bit about your other business, One and Only Barbecue, which you started with your partner, Alan Katzen, on how you got into the barbecue business and in the restaurant business, how that all came about.
Absolutely. Well, the timing is amazing, because Alan came into my office in December of 08, and he wanted money to get into a restaurant business. And I told him he picked the worst time in history to raise money.
Right.
And I wished him good luck. And I told him I hope he comes back and tells me a great story. Well, 9 months later, I went to the One and Only, or I called in an order to go. And the guy who answered the phone was rude. And so I sat there and I was getting ready to hang up the phone on the guy. But then I realized I really wanted those ribs. And
Right.
So I doubled my order. I hung up the phone. I went and picked them up. The guy kind of shrugged at me, apologizing. And I said, it was like the suit Nazi. I said, I just want my ribs.
Right.
And I loved them. And that weekend I asked everybody who knew of the place. Well, I asked Alan, and he explained to me it was for sale. Well, and back then there were 71 barbecue locations in Memphis, and he had never thought of opening a barbecue restaurant. In 30 days, we bought it. It was 2 FedEx pilots had retired and moved to Florida. And we quickly found that, people, loved the product. I'm so sorry.
You're all right, man. It's fine.
So they loved the product, and we knew we could only grow so much in that location. So from the day we bought it, we were looking for other locations, and it turned out to be just a great opportunity for me.
How many locations do you guys have now?
We have 3 locations now, and we're looking for number 4.
So I know we have the one on Kirby Parkway, right up the street from where I live. There's one in Cordova, right near Walnut Grove and Germantown Parkway. Is there one in Mississippi now?
It's in yes, it's in South Haven. It's if you take Airways and you go just past Goodman Road, we're on the right-hand side.
Oh, great area right there. Where else are y'all looking to expand?
Well, we'd like to go out towards Blue Oval next. And we also like the idea. We closed our location at Perkins and Poplar, and one of the things is we do want drive-through service, and we couldn't get that there.
Yeah.
So we'd like to move one more towards Midtown or downtown.
Great idea.
So those are the 2 locations we'd like next.
Yes. And if you have not tried the barbecue, you got to go there because it's really, really good. So definitely try it if you haven't been there, audience. What are the long-term goals and aspirations for the company following the rebrand, especially in terms of expansion and new initiatives?
Well, what we'd like to do is, one, we're hiring, and we want to expand and take advantage, and we want to be a home to. We know that the guys that work here and know the Memphis style, the Memphis way we do things, they're waking up and their boss is in another city and doesn't have that relationship with them, and they're just a number. Sure. And we're going to be a home to those people. We want to be the best at what we do, and we also want to expand into other products that the other firms here manage. There's great management here in Memphis for fixed income products, and so we want to grow on that legacy and just build on it, and really keep that home of fixed income institutional middle markets here in Memphis.
So you said you're hiring. What kind of people do you guys look for?
We're really looking for specialists, sales, guys that cover institutions, banks, credit unions, municipalities across the country.
Awesome.
That have those relationships.
Right. How does Memphis Capital envision its role within, the evolving financial landscape, considering factors like market trends, technological advances, like AI that's coming about, and also regulatory changes?
Well, we feel we're on the leading edge of it. One of the things that happened, I want to say January of 23, lenders, where our real focus is with the lenders, because we buy these loans from lenders across the country, and there was a new regulation called current expected credit loss that came into play for all lenders across the country in 2023. It's really interesting, and because what it does is it replaced a loan loss reserve. And now lenders have to record a loss on every single loan in their portfolio. And it has caused, not only did rates go up, but lenders had to abide by this new ruling. And it's been an incredible challenge to them to figure out how to grow their business. We feel we're on the leading edge of that, and we can provide those services to lenders. But it's actually, when you ask about artificial intelligence, I think that we have the closest thing it's not artificial intelligence, but once we have a lender's portfolio loaded up, we can give them advice and show them and demonstrate quickly what happens to their loans when rates go up, rates go down, credit deteriorates, under any scenario. So is technology. We feel we're on the leading edge of it. It's because banks have been going through this struggle now for 2 years. They haven't fully embraced the power of this technology, and we're excited about it, and we think it's going to be great for our clients. And we're not going back. Another way I'd say it too, some people wait for a crisis to end and say, hey, I can't wait to go back to normal.
Right.
There's no going back now. So if you even think of it, I think of it in two ways. Let's go back to the food business for a second. What do you do when you built a restaurant? You got all these employees, you've got overhead, and a guy pulls up right next to you in a food truck. And he starts serving. He doesn't have your overhead. He doesn't have your employee headaches. It's a tremendous advantage for the food truck. Okay. And they may not have the nice place to sit down, but you have to understand, how are you going to compete with that? And so it's the same way in banking. You can think about this. The banks have to fight against non-bank lenders that don't have the regulations. They have to compete against government funds that during an inverted yield curve. So right now you can get a 5%, 5.5% in a government fund, and they're paying 1%, 2% on deposits. So that they've got to compete in those ways. And then the next biggest way they got to compete, they've got a loan officer sitting at the desk, and I've got a link that I can put on your banks, on your website. You can click on that link. You can get your loan approved in 24 hours.
Wow.
And so you have to think, how do I compete? How do I get more efficient? And that's the challenge for lenders today. They are going to have to get more efficient. They can't go back to the way things used to be.
Right. How do you guys contribute to the local community, in Memphis beyond your financial services, such as maybe through philanthropy or support maybe local initiatives here?
Gotcha. We are big Memphis fans, and we participate in every which way. If you think of, and I can tell you the fun ones, the Italian Fest, we attend the Tiger games, the Grizzly games, but probably my favorite one is St. Jude. And we actually just went down, did a tour of St. Jude in April. And of all the years here, I've never done a tour. It's absolutely fascinating. The Jewish Foundation of Memphis, Make-A-Wish. We participate in every which way. We look to the local colleges, Christian Brothers University, Rhodes, to pick up people, and we're open to ideas, but we think being a participant and not just the basketball games, but in every part of Memphis life, we want to lift up Memphis. Duncan asked me to participate in the chairman's circle at the Chamber of Commerce. I did that, started that in January of this year. It's absolutely fascinating and exciting to see what is happening in Memphis.
We talk about St. Jude. I had not taken the tour. I took it 7 years ago, and I think I went on the 45-minute abbreviated one, but I was just mind blown. I had been down there to hear a speaker, and they said, hey, if anyone's interested in taking the tour, we have them available, right now. And back then it was $2.8 million a day to run that hospital. I'm sure it's more now, but it's just phenomenal. And most of the money they get are from the small loans, like the $19 a month that people donate.
Right. It defies, when you think about it, Alan Granoff, He was one of the first scientists that came down to live here. And he was a good friend of Danny Thomas's. And when you sit there and think of that was 50 years ago, 55 years ago,
Right.
And what they've done is just incredible.
Absolutely. What opportunities or challenges do you foresee for Memphis Capital for the future?
Well, I think we're coming out of one of the hardest ones. When I tell you about the credit crisis in '08, those time periods are accompanied by an inverted yield curve where your short-term rates are higher than your long-term rates. Right now, we are in the longest inverted yield curve in history. And what that means is the banks aren't doing investments. It's very, very slow. So we've got maybe 6 more months of this. And so, but usually those time frames are followed up by incredible amounts of activity. So we're in a challenging market right now, but it also, every challenge has an equal or greater opportunity.
Right.
And so it is this challenge where you see, when I tell you we're looking to hire people, these people move around right now, and they want to be in place 6 months from now when the curve normalizes.
That makes a lot of sense. You know, someone that we both know very well said this about you, quote, Joel has been a great friend for many years. Sometimes we butt heads a little because of financial and business philosophy, but by friendship standards, he is my closest friend. He is very smart, very spontaneous, and very loyal, unquote. I'm sure you probably know I'm speaking of Craig Weiner. Tell us a little bit about the friendship that you guys have and what he means to you.
Well, Craig is a lifelong friend. And I will tell you, my first memory of Craig was sitting at a bar mitzvah. And Craig had a whole plate of tuna fish. And he was looking at me, and I was in my suit, whatever. And I was like, don't do it. And he turned it over and turned that tuna fish over. And I jumped as fast as I can. I don't want to tell you that I avoided the tuna fish, but long story short, it's a long, wonderful friendship. The other thing Craig and I have in common is a love of golden retrievers. My first golden was when I was a junior in college, and they got a golden. Well, actually, yeah, it was in college, and they got one at the same time from the same people in Arkansas, and actually. Just had puppies a month ago. These are great descendants of the first one, Sugar Bear. And Craig is always, Craig and Tracy, we've just loved Goldens until today. And gosh, his dad coached us in basketball. We've had a fun-filled life, and he is very good at equities. And it's really an exciting time for both of us.
Absolutely. You know, he told me that when you guys were younger, for probably about a solid 10 years, y'all went to Jazz Fest in New Orleans every year. And he said there's so many stories but the majority of them we couldn't talk about on the podcast.
Very true. Well, it was, I think we went 11 straight years, and then I met my wife, and she said I couldn't go back.
Yeah, I can imagine just the thinking of the trouble that you guys caused down there. What are the most important lessons you've learned in life?
Friends, take care of your friends. Just be good, be honest. As long as you do those things and you're loyal, you overcome the circumstances. They're we're all going to go through tough times in our life, and if you just stay true to yourself and true to your friends, the circumstances, they too, what it said, this too shall pass.
Right.
And they do. And that's one of the things that we have in the Memphis community. And people look at us all the time, Michael. They come in for weddings and stuff. No, everybody looks at us and they're like, holy cow, how do you guys have been friends. You've lived here your whole life. And we have a network, of doctors, restaurants, and that we all go to. And it's just a great community, and where other people have moved all over the country and they don't have the deep roots that we do here. And I'm grateful for it.
Absolutely. One thing I was told years ago, people say they have, great friends and friends, when actually you have friends and then you have acquaintances, and
Right.
the ones that are your true friends.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If someone is interested in learning more about Memphis Capital and wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can call me. My email is jbaines@memphiscapital.com or 901-261-5951.
Awesome. I remember we were younger. You're just a few years older than I am. And I remember playing pickup basketball at the center. I remember playing with you on teams, and I remember playing against you. And I remember how good both you and Craig were. And I definitely enjoyed playing with you a lot more, because I knew that if you were on the team or Craig was on the team, I had a much better chance to continue playing, and that we were going to win and end up playing more. And so I just remember those are my fond memories from the late 80s, early 90s as a young person playing basketball, those pickup games at the center. And obviously times are different now, but those were fun times.
Yeah, I would tell you, I mentioned how Craig and I had the golden retrievers. It was not just the Goldens, that we both had a love for basketball. And he played at Tennessee, and gosh almighty, we had so much fun. And actually that it's that competitiveness. It's what I love about basketball. I had to replace it because I couldn't run up and down the court. And,
Right.
And that's what I love about the business. I love to compete and play ball, and we had some fun times. And now I'm hoping our Tigers, Penny Hardaway, can bring us back to the Final Four.
Yeah, I hope so too. I learned a lot from doing research on you and your company, and the things that I never knew and understood. And I understand now why you've been so successful in life and your career. And I really appreciate you coming on today. It's been great.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you, Joel.
It's been a good experience, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
You too, Joel. Thank you.
Thank you.